Hey, welcome to the Operation Grow Show. I think we're going to go for, we do start up again. So, season 6, episode 1, new year, new season, all that nonsense. Don't forget to put on to live chat, not top chat. Hope everybody is doing well and had a good New Year, Eve and Christmas as best as could be. So, yeah, hey, GMF, how you doing, bud? How things going?
Brother, can't complain, man. Had a nice New Year's Eve. Just chilled at home with the wife. Got to try. Got me growing chilies now, so I got to try my first Hungarian black chili last night. I whipped it with I diced it with some goat cheese and honey and a little bit of thyme, and then wrapped it in pastry and baked it. Very good.
Spicy.
It was weird. Like when you get a big piece of it, yes, but for the most part, once it really kind of gets worked into a dish, I thought it was pretty flavorful without actually having too much heat. If you bit into a nice, like if I didn't dice it small enough, I could see how definitely it would be a little overwhelming depending on if you're in the heat or not. But I think that's why it's probably one reason it's used for paprika though. When I opened it up, there was no pith to it whatsoever. There was no white part whatsoever. The seeds were literally just embedded in the flesh, and it was all scarlet red.
Yeah. They are really nice. I think, the bit that surprises people is that they can be hot, but just hop into one. It might take you a little bit by surprise.
And I tried to take your advice because I've been listening. I let it get as red as I thought it could get before I went and plucked it, just to try to develop some heat and some character rather than getting it at that, chocolate colored or black stage.
It'll be a lot more bitter when it's not fully ripened. Once it's fully ripened, it'll be sweeter and you'll have more flavor for sure. Hey, Lefty, New Year, bud.
New Year, guys. How's everybody?
Doing good, thanks. Doing good. Yourself?
I'm good, man. Doing good.
I see the easy life has gotten you forgetting what day of the week it is.
I mean, with being home now and the holidays, and it's got me all screwed up. The wife had a few days off this week and last week, and it's just like it's got me all thrown out of whack. I'm like, holy shit, it's Saturday. It's like 4:00.
Yeah, no, exactly, man. I've got that feeling at the moment, having had public holiday and whatnot, and time off. Your mic just died, or is that me? You muted yourself somewhere on that side there, Lefty, or is it just me?
I'm good.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm all right.
Cool. I think the mistake is I was watching the live feed on YouTube. It's not hangover still. Okay, fair enough. Well, yeah. New Year's was great.
Yes, a little late night last night, huh?
Oh fuck. So what I thought might be cool is is there anything like new things that you're potentially looking at trying out this year? Anything that you may have been thinking about and going, I'll give it a go, that you've read about or seen and thought you might try out in the garden? Any new technologies, for instance, or new types of setup that you're looking at or considering? And that goes in your chat as well. Anybody thinking about trying to do something new this year? Any kind of particular changes?
So I've been thinking about basically doing almost like a modified auto pot system in my flower room with like 4x4 trays. Essentially just using those auto pot valves in a 4x4 tray and like putting a bunch of clay ton in the bottom of there and just essentially using that for a tray. And just going off that big reservoir. So just basically doing like my own auto pot setup, just modifying it basically.
Yeah.
But I've been thinking about doing that, just kind of looking to get the right trays and stuff. And those trays aren't cheap, man. Those trays are like $120 a piece for those 4x4 trays. But but you kind of think about doing something like that.
Yeah, cool, man. And just out of curiosity as well, how's that F1 cross coming along?
It's doing really good. Actually, I'm going to send you over a few pictures here in a minute, but they're at day 32 of flower. Starting to really put on some nice flower sets now. Good structure on the good majority of them. They're pretty uniform. What I'm seeing, there's not like, I don't have like a big, tall, stretchy pheno and a little short, squat one. All of them, are within a couple inches of each other. I didn't top anything. I let them all go, just kind of see what they did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm getting some good banana terps off some of them. I call it the one I'm really liking. I'm calling it like a banana bubble gum. It's kind of like a soft banana with like that real sweetness, like I don't know, like a bubblicious, like a really sweet bubblicious bubble gum would have. No strawberry, just kind of like that sweet, juicy sweetness of a bubble gum like that. But yeah, starting to put on some frost. Some of them are definitely frostier than others. Yeah, the only light variances I'm really seeing in them so far is there's like a couple of plants that are a little bit lighter than the rest of them in color, like the green.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not where they're at under the light, because like one's directly under the light, then one's kind of off in the corner, kind of the same green color, just different than the others. So yeah, it just must be just a different type of a genotype difference.
Yeah.
But yeah, a few differences here and there, but nothing real major. I'm not seeing anything real crazy of a difference. So
cool.
Yeah, everything's going pretty well.
Excellent, Paddy. Yeah, it's been sent the pictures over. I'll share them out. But yeah, no, excellent, man. Hey, Raptor, how's it going, buddy? Good to see you. Good New Year's.
Yeah, Happy New Year's, everyone. Thanks for the welcome, Pete. It's good to see everyone. I hope you all had the panel and the chat had a good New Year's. Mine was pretty groovy.
Colorful.
Yeah, had lots of colors. Yeah, I had some fun. Broke open a jar of psychedelic truffles that I had just growing in the background. Had a couple of them going like 8 months ago, and then they just kind of like got tiered away just slowly but surely, and then I just left one in the background that I forgot about. And then when I was cleaning up everything to set up some tents, I found that and I was like, oh well, some New Year's plans, right on. So yeah, I did a couple grams of that. It was really fun, really enjoyed it. Yeah, that was the highlight of my New Year's. Just spent it with some people in the neighborhood. There was a couple of us tripping and just enjoying it.
Yeah. Fun guy evening.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So GMF, what about you? Are you planning on trying out anything new for 2022? I've got to keep getting that right. It's gonna take a while. Oh, we don't have checks anymore, so I don't have to keep.
No, it just so happens to line up that I got a lot of new things in the hopper at the moment. Genetic wise, I'm going to be running some of the land races that I got from Pinky, so we'll be seeing how those go. Those ought to be pretty interesting. I'm also planning to pop some Cinderella in the meantime, because I've been wanting to hunt that for a male for a while and I haven't had time. So those are the primary on the docket for that. I've got a new fermentation protocol I'm going to try here, I think later tonight, to try to make, hopefully within 1 day, a fully activated top. So it's not just partially activated, but I can just take a really small piece and it's fully decarboxylated. So we're gonna try that. That ought to be fun. My New Year's resolution is to start microdosing myself, because I usually don't take the time to be consistent. I make the products, but I don't take the time. So I do it for my dogs. I dose their food every day, but I don't do it for myself. So I decided to go ahead and, after talking to Duckweed, I decided to make some bitters. So just a little splash bottle that anytime I make a beverage or whatever, I can just put a dash of bitters in there, and there's my dosing. So yeah, I think that's a lot. My resolution is to get into microdosing, just for my own health. But then I've got, like I said, a ton of new projects. Oh, and then the new worm bin, that'll be my construction project. I like to always be building things. So now that I've got more room in the garage, I'm going to try to blow my worm bin up from just a standard worm bin to 48 inches by 40 inches, so it'll sit on a standard pallet. That way I can move it around with a pallet jack and I can get it pretty big. So
are you considering a flow-through design, or
yes, but I'm gonna have to build it, I think, because I've been looking around and Most people
To-
build them from wood, and that eventually breaks down just due to the organic acids and moisture.
Because
A
they
lot
don't
of people
treat
build
it.
them, right? Well, even then, the treatment doesn't necessarily protect it forever, and it's not necessarily good for the well. Anyway, and then on the other side of it, you got people making them out of metal. Well, the metal also does not necessarily always stand up well to moisture and organic acids and stuff. So I've done some looking around, and I think I'm going to make it out of reinforced fiberglass. So I'm just going to buy the pieces of fiberglass and use that as the construction material. That way it should be relatively immune to everything but ultraviolet light. That's what it is. And that should keep it lightweight too. It should be a fraction of the weight of using, wood blocking or using, God forbid, steel or something like that.
Cost efficient, lightweight, and then if you need to move it around, it's not gonna break your back. You don't have to get like 5 people to help you out, maybe a person with a jack or something.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Myself with my pallet jack should be able to move it around pretty easy. And that's kind of why I'm designing it to fit on standard palleting. So hopefully it'll be fun.
Nice. I'm considering adding another tier to, I just use a plastic tote design, plastic, like stuff that you would put your clothes in the winter when it's summers. And yeah, I use, oh my gosh, Rhonda Sherman's basic design that she puts out on her, in the North Carolina state. Is that right?
Yeah. She works with NC State. Yep.
Yeah, NC State, look at their extension office and just look up Rhonda Sherman. That's Rhonda Sherman with
Dr. Rhonda Sherman. Let's not short her credentials. Dr. Rhonda Sherman.
Yeah, she does a great job. I am just gonna be changing it up from how I had my past design. And in my past design, I put a hole in each corner on the bottom. And I'm adding another tier. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stack them on top of each other with the lids on. And then the bottom one is not going to have the holes in there. Just, I've realized the way I compost everything, I don't add a lot of materials. I let it dry out basically a little bit, and then I put it in. So when people say, oh, I got this extra warm leachate, well, she even says, that's not necessarily good. That means your warm bin's leaking out all that moisture. It doesn't need that much. Too moist, exactly. Yeah. So ideally put it in the freezer, that material. And if you don't have the space, throw it out in an outside compost bin or a separate compost bin, let that break down a little bit, and then everything will work itself out with the microbiome.
Or here's another little option. I've done this. In fact, if I sign in on my phone, I can show you guys a picture of it. So you take that worm leachate, right? Just let it pour onto a tray. Okay, let it pour onto anything where it can evaporate. You know that granular humic acid that you pay for? When you let this leachate completely dry out, you can crumble it in your hands and it's a powder. It's like sand, right? So that's the mineral content coming through.
I have noticed that,
yeah. Yeah, so I've got shards of this stuff just sitting in a little container from the little bit of leachate I have got. I just let it dry and I put the shards in a container. If I want some, I just chuck it in there. So yeah,
it's rehydrated.
Exactly. Yeah, just never let things go to waste, man. Like I feel like my wife wanted an orange earlier, so I peeled the orange. I took the orange peels, I packed them in sugar. Now I'll make orange syrup. You know, I made a salad earlier, so now the heart of the romaine and the extra leaves, that's all worm food.
So you could pay for something like what GMF was saying, BioAg TM7, or you could just do exactly what he was saying, and you are already getting some worm castings. You're dealing with your waste stream. So I had a lot of carbon material before. I had a lot of banana waste, basically produce waste, and that was just going straight into the garbage bin. It doesn't need to do that. It could just go into that, be taken care of, and then I'm adding value into my garden. But how's it going, Magma?
Cheers, happy New Year's.
There's
Happy
that.
New Year's, brother.
buddy.
Cheers, brother.
And I'll get on the hippie bandwagon too. Like all that food you throw in the garbage, man, that's methane. Because it goes into a landfill, it gets buried deeply and composted anaerobically. That becomes greenhouse gas. You know, if you compost it at home, no greenhouse gas. It stays out of the landfill system. There's less, gas driving around hauling your garbage. There's less stuff packed into a landfill. I mean, it really is primary source diversion from our waste stream. So get into it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were
All
talking
good, man.
worms.
Yeah, I'm gonna try this. Having tested it out, where probably not the best advert for it, but taking cuttings instead of, I did bash the stalk, taking a really nice clean cut, I bashed it out and then dipped that in the rooting hormone and just stuck it straight into cocoa. Didn't wilt at all. It went straight through as rooted, absolutely fine. Didn't have to put a plastic bag over it, not even for a couple of hours. It was just stayed up perfectly the whole time. So I think that's definitely something that I want to try out on a slightly bigger scale. It saves a lot of time and having to go and buy clean razor blades or new stuff all the time.
Yeah, nice.
It does seem that taking cuttings is not, it isn't that difficult to do. It really isn't. I think using those air cloners and things like that are, if you want to do a lot of them in a small amount of space.
That's what they're for, efficiency.
You want to see an example?
Yeah.
Sure. Always.
All right. Hold on. Mine's right here.
It's the same reason I use the dryer. It's not because I can't hang dry, but it's because I don't want to use up the space and I can get it down to 12 inches rather than 3 feet of growing space that have to go then to drying. Forget that. It's all about efficiency.
Yeah, so that's one of those things. I think sometimes it's definitely people that can overcomplicate what is really a very easy thing to do. I think we were discussing the other day, it may not work so well doing it straight into soil. I think it works better if you go straight into like a rockwool cube or into cocoa, give it the roots time to establish without anything else that, other biology that could sort of attack it a little bit, and let them establish themselves and then just transplant that into your soil. Or is it looking good, buddy?
Very nice little DIY cloner too. I like it, out of a tough box.
Oh yeah.
Very, very nice.
Yeah, it's a mess. They should have been potted a week ago.
And are you using
Airstone?
Are
No,
you
there's
using
no
Airstone?
No, I got a submersible pump in there, and I got like it's just all 1-inch tubing, PVC tubing piping with
Are you using Venturi effect?
Here, hold on.
So you pull air in?
No. Here, I'm gonna get myself all wet, but no, it just sprays up. It's basically like an easy cloner. I just made it myself.
Okay, yeah.
It squirts up. Hold on, I'm looking at my fucking self here.
And that aerates it for you.
Yeah, it just all squirts up and it rotates around. Damn it, come on. There it goes. But yeah, it just squirts up.
I've seen the same setup with Venturi going with the pump too.
But no, it's just a submersible pump.
And just like those little garden sprayer, I mean, that's what it looks like to me. Like you get them for
like a
your garden with, and it's just got little jets it out. So it produces like a mist out of each of the little spray heads.
Has it ever clogged up?
They're actually just easy cloner nozzles, like replacement nozzles that I got at the grow shop, and I just tapped in the holes myself into the pipe and just screwed those right in.
There we go. Perfect.
They don't really clog up because I just use the Clonex solution in there. So, that stuff isn't very, very thick, but by the end of the run, the nozzles start to kind of not like spray as well as they did in the beginning. So I just, use like a little pipe cleaner, after I
Yeah.
pull my clones out and just clean those little nozzles out, run a good H2O2 cycle with some good hot water through it for a little while and just, get it good and cleaned out when I get done. So, but yeah, I don't have any problems with it getting clogged up at all. It's fine.
Yeah, I remember they had the big one with 72 from General Hydroponics or something. And it used to suck the roots into the pump. It had like this spinning disc. That could turn very bad.
What's
Yeah.
nice about that pump is where it pulls the water in. There's an actual filter right there, like a sponge filter.
Yeah.
So like the roots sometimes will get into that filter, but it won't actually go any further because that filter won't let anything into the actual pump area. So every once in a while, the pump will, like, if I leave them in there way too long, like in another few days, I'll probably start having problems with that thing starting to like get a little bit spitter, it'll kind of like start spitting where it's just starting to suck them roots up and get clogged up a little bit. But they've been in there way too long at this point.
Yeah, I mean, would you normally, because that was, like the roots on those, for instance, would you normally be letting them get that established before transplanting them out, or would you?
They'll be fine. I mean, those will be absolutely fine. I mean, I'll soak the pot good when they get that like that. Basically, I'll like put a little bit of soil at the bottom of the pot because I mean, some of them roots, some of them are a foot long in there. So let's put a little bit of soil in the bottom of the pot, a little bit of like lush roots, fucking mycorrhizae stuff. Put it in there with the roots like pretty much at the bottom and just like kind of stand it up and fill the soil in all around them roots and then just soak that fucking soil. Because they're used to being in that cloner and having constant water sprayed on them. They're this big.
Yeah.
So, I just get them good and wet and I'll just let them sit.
There's always a thing that I found that made me, even using like those root riot cubes, when suddenly all the roots explode out the side, I'm like, when potting on the chilies, you get nervous about all that root structure, and that's why I prefer damaging it somehow and setting it back. That's why I always prefer, that is why I prefer doing it straight to the grow medium, because and the pots are not tiny little pots. They're one size up from maybe one size down from what they would be used to go into their final pots, so they get rooted into cuttings you put into those and rooted into that.
Right.
But that's just it is something I've always noticed in those air cloners. The roots seem to get really, really big, and it's like, okay.
But yeah, they do well. I mean, you just, when you get them started, you got to keep those roots, nice and a good amount of moisture around those roots because, they have been just living in a constant, like, wet environment. So, that's all I do. And I don't usually have any problems with them taking as long as they're, decently rooted and they were good cuts when I took them. I haven't had any issues with them. Now I've had issues with shitty cuts.
Yeah.
But, but other than that, it does pretty well. I've tried a lot of different methods and this seems to just be the one that works best for me, the easiest for me. So.
Yeah, no, it's that's the other thing to get going. It's all the chili crosses from last year. It's going to be interesting to see how many of them actually will be successful. Yeah. What about you, Magma? You're in sorry, go ahead, Raptor.
Oh, we were just on the topic of new propagation methods, and Lefty was showing what he has. I'm trying this out. It's just a 66 quart bin. You could go a little smaller. I just wanted it to be a little taller so that now when it did grow up, yeah, it did have space to like spread out and everything. But yeah, probably can't see it, but yeah, this is just simple bin. And then at the bottom, I actually put let me see. There we go. Okay. At the bottom, I put some sphagnum moss, not sphagnum peat moss, just sphagnum moss. And I got the idea from watching a couple of tropical plant channels here on YouTube, and yeah, gonna try it out, see how it works. You just keep the bottom nice and moist. And I'm actually gonna be introducing live sphagnum moss into this as well. So that'll be growing, and I'll be growing my own substrate as well. So I actually grow a couple tropical plants, dragon fruit and vanilla orchid. And I'm definitely going to try out the vanilla orchid on this as well. So just a little something, you know, that I didn't need any electricity for this. This can go on a south facing window and just do its own thing, give a little spray, check up on it every 24 hours at least, give a little air exchange. If you are not going to be there all the time, I don't recommend, a lot of people are saying not to poke holes in it, and that it could last pretty long, everything in here without it. Maybe poke one or two. But the reason they were saying that is that it can retain a lot of moisture on that way. So instead of, like, if you had some holes, giving it some water once a week, if you didn't have some holes, you could just water it once a month. So even less input and management. So just something I'm trying out. I'll let everyone know how that goes. But yeah, just a little experiment, and put some popsicle sticks as my tags, plant tags, put like a center divider to make sure I knew what strains were which, and put them in rows basically. So yeah, fun little project for the new year.
Nice. Yeah, I was going to ask Magma, are you this year anything new that you're planning on trying in the grow at all?
Like growing technique or genetic
growing
wise?
technique or genetics, anything?
Yeah, no, I'm looking at actually starting a rain gutter grow system where you have like one of those flood valves like you have in the toilet.
Yeah.
Put one of those on the end, and you connect it to like a big water source, and then you do big pots on top of that tube. So I'm probably going to get like a big plumber's tube and drill some holes, and then I'll do like the biggest mesh cup I can get in the bottom of the pots on top, and I'm going to just fill that with some medium, and make sure I have like one of those fabric pots inside to get the water sucked up, so I get that suction. And then I'm going to be drilling holes around the pot, the fabric pot sit in, so I'll get that air trimming technique going.
Do you really need the holes on a fabric pot? Because when
no, the fabric pot's going to be inside like a plastic one, so I'm going to make holes on the plastic one.
Inside. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, so it's just going to be lining like that, just for fun, just like outdoor soil. And then I'm going to try to throw some fishes and stuff into the pipe underneath, so it can be like a small aquatic life down there.
That's cool. Yeah, have you checked out, you should check out The Urban Farmer.
I've seen it before.
Did you get that idea? Yeah, it sounded really similar, and it's something I consider myself, but I just ended up getting some blue moths. So that's my irrigation method, and it's just standalone too. So there's a lot of different ways.
I have a bunch of blue mats laying around. I used to run that indoors, but
no, it's cool to try out new stuff. I like
to have like reliable solutions that don't take much tinkering, because I have so much other plants that I need to maintain too and make sure they don't dry out. So it's just to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, it's smart. The only problem that I have with my blue mats is when I forget to refill the res. So then it dries out exactly like you're saying. And for me, it was user error. For other people, whatever it is, I've heard different reasonings for it, that they don't like the setup. For me, it's the thought that you have to set up any irrigation system no matter what. You have to clean it up. There has to be maintenance. So
blue mats is really nice. It's really nice. I just think I would get too much algae doing it outdoor, and I'm
Oh yeah, for
indoors.
outdoor.
I had plants, and I had like one top reservoir on top of a shelf, and then that was fed from like a really big tank with 300 liter, and I had that one full of aquatic plants too, and I think it's cilia or something. It's like this small shrimps that clean the water.
Nice. Yeah, I
What they
like
used to sell
the
as
thought,
probably
Mark.
being those were they sea monkeys or whatever it was. I don't know, that's
Yeah,
showing my
probably.
age. On the back of the comics, you could buy your magic sea monkeys.
Yeah, I have a bunch of sea monkeys in my water tank here.
Yeah, I like your method. It sounds completely customizable and affordable, efficient. It hits all the marks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just easy and something different, I guess, because I'm throwing a bunch of Congo stuff, filling up the greenhouse with that. I'm gonna see if I find a nice keeper mom. Maybe make some seeds.
Nice, nice. Have you watched that? Think what you want of them, but have you watched that new series from Greenhouse Seeds where they're in?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen
trans
it. I think they're in South Africa. I've
Yeah,
just
they're
seen
in.
some links about it.
Yeah, they were in Transkei. And there, what was interesting is seeing some of the land races that are growing, or the land race strain that's growing on the riverbanks, where the roots are about that deep. That's as far as the taproot goes, and there's these tiny little roots coming off this thing, and it's getting most of its moisture from the dew in the mornings. I mean, it's crazy how the plants have adapted there.
And how were they, tall or short?
They were mostly, there was one or two that were tall, but on the whole, they were fairly short. They were shorter than
Yeah.
the people walking around on the whole, I would say. What was sad to see is how much of their genetics have rocked up in the area. And it's growing, and it's been grown all over the place there now. But there are still some of the landrace strains up in the valleys and that. But it was interesting just to see how little they can survive on, and when you're looking at these plants.
Yeah, no, I've had plants survive like without watering, even here. I had a farm before, and I had a bunch of plants that were just like standing on the side, and I didn't really maintain them. They weren't meant to be kept. But they all finished, you know. I didn't give them anything. So,
and
I was like in the
really
valley
nicely as well.
Yeah, and I think it was in like this valley, so they had the dew there too. I think that plays a big role.
It would be very yeah, I wonder if you could grow those strains indoors. I think you'd struggle.
Well, no, I think if you do scrog and you learn how the flowering and the stretch is, I think you could maintain it.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can find the one where they which expedition.
I've seen people do like really big plants across like 2-meter tents, and they start on one side, and at the end the whole plant is just like laying down across the whole 2 meters, taking all the space.
Yeah. Yeah, they had some really interesting traits that they found. But just
that's probably the best way to do it indoors if you want those really tall, stretchy varieties. Just start it like on one side of the tent and just let it kind of scrog across the room as it goes.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the ground that they're growing in. As you can see the screen there. Pretty.
It look much greener than where I'm at. Fucking hell. Luxury style. Oh man. Yeah, we got too much helicopters for that over here.
And the funny thing is, yeah, because it's become pretty much legal over there now. They can't see the bit showing the root structure.
Hey, Magma, on real long flowering sativas, like kind of what's your technique? Do you like to just kind of get your seeds started and flip them at like 3, 4 weeks, or do you really like to veg them out? Um, I'm curious because I'm running a Band-Aid haze and I'm running a really crazy like skunk Durban Thai NL5 haze mix.
I really like to start them where they're supposed to stay, so I could start them like straight in the ground.
Okay.
But sometimes if I'm doing seeds and I don't have like a backup, I'll start them in pots, and I'll take them like one transplant into a little bit bigger pot, so I'll get like good root growth,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll pop them in place.
Yeah, I was gonna get them like, like 3 weeks from seed and then put them in like, their finishing pot, put them in like a 7 or a 10 gallon pot and just start flowering them after like 3 weeks. And like just kind of if I need to trellis them along like a back wall or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think that should be good.
Because they're gonna stay indoors. I mean, they're not, I can't go outdoors yet, so they'll definitely be indoors.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, no, you have space to tie it out if it grows too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Durban one, the tie is the bit that really makes it take a long time to flower. That's the bit that's the one that's adding the time in there. Durban, not so much, fortunately.
And that one might not be so bad. I know the Band-Aid will probably run about 14 weeks probably. But I got a couple other ones that are like, like 16, 17 weekers that, I'm not running at the moment, but it's definitely coming up before too long. So
that's a long time. Yeah.
But with that room, I can just throw it in the back corner of that room. And, if I go through a cycle and a half or whatever with, 8, 9 weekers and that thing just hangs out in the back corner and I just run it along that wall or whatnot, it ain't not my ass really. But yeah, I've picked up some fun ones lately.
Yeah, maybe if you grew it. Yeah, I think when you grow with cuttings, you can keep the plants down in size because the second it roots, you can flower it. So you're going to have to grow this thing for 18 weeks. So get a cutting going. The second that cutting's going and establishing it, it's only going to have to be that tall, but it's mature, it's ready to flower. Then just flip it in and flower it. That probably because after 18 or 14 weeks, the height might be a very serious problem.
That's right. Just trellis it, you know what I mean? Where the height really wouldn't be the issue. Just start stringing along the back, a wall or something.
Yeah, you can do like a vertical scrog if you have it. If you have the wall space for it, you get light.
Yeah,
I used to do that, and like if you have a tent, and you just visualize how much space there is using the walls instead of using like a horizontal screen.
Yeah, you got 4 walls, well, one that you can walk in on, and instead of just one flat one, you're doing it on the floor.
Right. Well, I have 8.5 feet really of like light space because that ceiling down there is all of almost close to 9 foot. It's at least 8.5 foot in that room. So 6, 7 inches for the light. So I got all of 8 foot of actual distance to the bottom of the light. So what, 7'6" with an LED light, of actual growth space. Plus I can scrog it and shit. So I should be okay.
Yeah.
But that's the joy of having that room now is I have that wall space and I don't have a tent and, ceiling, really ceiling restrictions anymore. So
Have you tried that Band-Aid?
No, this is the first run with it. So, I'm really excited to see how it's going to be.
Yeah, I heard some good stuff about that.
And now that you've also moved out of the tent and you're growing in a room now, with the Canon, are you able to get it up higher, for instance? Have you noticed, is it work better? Better, worse is probably not a thing, but I know because of its size and the tent, it certainly can add quite a bit of restriction in the height of a tent.
The Canons aren't in there.
Okay.
So I have the 2 HLGs in the room, and then the Canons are in the old flower tent, which is a 4x8, and those are now my veg. Those are now like my veg and seedling lights.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay, so where things are still staying short, so
and at the
perfect, yeah.
320 watts, you know, I can get plenty of power on that and that 4x4, you know, seedling to, you know, flipping the flower stage. So yeah, so exactly like you said, the height thing doesn't come into play there at all. So that's kind of the reason why I did it, because I love those cannons, but they're just they're big, and if you're in a tent, I mean, it's a lot of space.
Yeah.
It's just all out of space. So
Yeah, no, definitely. That's yeah, I'm keen to see how though that cross goes. If you can really get the banana thing going, that seems that would be an interesting one for sure. Don't see much of that. Yeah.
There's 2 or 3 of them that are definitely it's coming on pretty good, the banana. So it's just, you know, what side it's going to take. Is it going to be like banana like the fruit? Is it going to be like a bubble gum like I'm smelling on a couple of them? You know, is it going to turn to like a sweetie tarty candy? You know, who knows? But
and then, you know, as you're saying, you've got all that consistency at the moment. It'll be cool to see, you know, the F2 generation. How much does that suddenly fluctuate?
Right.
If at all. I mean, you know, it's never a given.
Yeah, and I have 2 males. I have 2 males right now. I had 3, and one of them poked out a few pistols on the bottom. But they took some shit, because I mean, they just sat out in my basement for a week before I put them back into a tent with light, and they got dried out. And yeah, they kind of took a beating. I was like, well, shit, if they give up, they give up. You know, we'll get rid of the shit. But
yeah,
just that one popped a few pistols on the bottom. I'm like, sorry, you're gone. You know. But everything else has looked really good. I mean, I had a bunch of other strains in that flower room that I had to pull out. I probably pulled out 6 herms. You know, just all the Wooderson stuff is hung tough. So everything's going good. You know, it's like week 6 where you start really looking good. I'm kind of in that phase in between the early hermaphrodites and the late stage nanners. So it's like, you know, for 2 weeks there, I was just fucking going through all those things, just spinning them and looking. And yeah, it was a lot of time in there, fucking checking everything out. But
yeah, miss one and it's over.
yeah, it's one little pod and the whole room's screwed. So
that's definitely one of the, you know, something from, you know, lesson learned as part of doing a breeding line, you know, which was, as you see, this is now season 6, or just because season 5 was given to a ridiculous number of episodes. It was time to change it. But you know, even in a year, that's at one coming up for like 2 grow out in a year. You know, it's not something that you can do overly quickly. I know the mystery grower, the same thing. You know, it's getting it.
Get a volcano while you're going.
Yeah, throw one of those in. What every outdoor grower
spice
needs.
things up.
Yeah. Oh dear. But that's all finished now, I believe. They've actually declared it over. So
I was hoping at first it was gonna last like for a long time, be very dramatic, just for the visuals. But once all the herms started playing out, I was like praying for it to stop. So luckily it did.
Oh, you're the man with the power, by the sounds of it.
Hey Pete, did you get those pictures I sent you?
Where did they go? Sorry, no, I haven't.
I think I sent them to the PL Grows Instagram, maybe. I'm not sure. These are from earlier on in the week, I want to say. So these are around like day probably 27, 28.
Yeah, so I sent Raptor a link a few days ago about a website that I found out about. It's called Government Deals or something. It's a US site. I think it's mainly for US people, but they had a lot of really cool lab equipment for sale, really, really cheap. So that's
I actually checked that out.
Something worth checking out.
Yeah, the gas chromatograph. It's a Series 2 from Packard Bell. the minimum bid on it's $50 and it goes up by $2. So it's really cheap. I mean, I'm a big fan of auction sites. I use them for restaurant equipment all the time. The
Yeah.
only
Yeah, no,
thing about
if
it
you
is,
can use it, I'll sponsor it for you.
yeah, well, the only thing about it is it's untested. So they have no idea
Ah.
if the machine actually works or not. So this is something where, like, if you're a technician of any sort, you're someone who knows how to tinker and fix things, you know, this would be great because, like me, I've bought, you know, espresso machines and been able to fix them. I know how to fix that kind of stuff. I don't know if I know how to fix a gas chromatograph, but if you have any kind of technical expertise, this would be the place to pick up stuff super cheap to resell to people like us.
Yeah, I mean, I know how to calibrate everything like that, all that kind of lab equipment, the
Then you might be able
mass
to tell if it
scales.
actually works or not.
Yeah, I mean, that's very interesting. I have my, it's funny, I was doing cleaning like I was just mentioning before, and I found my old lab book, my old lab textbook, which has all that information, and I can always message my professor, hey, I lost my notes for whatever reason. A lot of my stuff was on my other computer. So yeah, I could definitely do that. And then if he doesn't know about that specific model, he could definitely help me figure out how to go about it. So that's awesome.
Lefty, these are your pictures here.
I see what you're looking at there, Pete, and that's the coloring in the picture. I see
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the edges of the leaves.
Mm.
I don't, there's like a couple plants where I have a couple blades where they're folded like that. Did you see that?
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, it's like there'll be like one or two blades on a leaf on each, like it's on like 4 plants. But it's, again, I looked at like, you know, is it in the corner? Is it directly underneath the light? And it's like, it doesn't have anything to do with light. But yeah, it's that, it looks like it's yellowing around the edges, and it's not. It's something to do with the coloring in that photo.
Yeah, I was just looking at the serrations. I mean, I wasn't really the edges. Yeah, but they've got really sharp serrations. Yeah, getting frosty. Very nice.
Are you using a Method 7 lens?
No, that's just quick photos with my phone.
Is the grow light on, or is it just the room light?
That's the grow light.
Yeah.
What's on the back?
That's a banana OG.
Yeah.
It's the same plant. This one is one of the ones that's a little bit lighter green, to where this one in the back right there is a little bit of the darker green.
Oh, magma drop off. Yeah, there's a noticeable difference between those.
The volcano got him because we were talking shit about it.
Yeah. Don't anger the volcano gods. They will not be best. Let's see some people in chat there saying Corona's disease, the outbounds to the side from Tasmanian devil, air blowing on it, doesn't have a fan blowing on it.
Yeah, there's a 20-inch oscillating fan in that room.
And
then there's also an 8-inch Vornado fan that sits on the floor to blow across the bottom, you know, the bottom of the canopy.
I've seen it, yeah. It happens. Some of the leaves will lower down, will sometimes do it. It's not overly consistent when I've seen it happen. Like you're saying, it's only like on a few leaves here and there. It's not, you don't see the whole plant suddenly doing it.
No, it's on just like it's on some of the, like, it's not even at the top or the bottom. It's more of like some of the inner leaves, you know, just inside of, like, you know, like that first bud off that axial branching. You'll get like just a couple of them on it here and there. But yeah, it's like on like 5 plants out of, let's just say, you know, fucking 25.
Nice, man. Yeah. Well, also hopefully this year be able to get over to, get over to that neck of the woods, maybe. Did an Operation Grow Show road trip.
That'd be fun.
figure out something. Sure, it can be done. Sure.
You're gonna
That's the nice
go,
part about doing this. Yeah, you can go
you're gonna-
remote from anywhere.
You're gonna go with your mom's boat?
No, 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 no. I'm not that mad. Oh, Christ, no. Shitting in a bucket. No, it's fine. Thanks. I'll take the hotel and an airplane. It's quite okay.
And is there any of your sisters or brothers that would sail instead of fly? Or it's just your mom?
Yeah, just my mom. Yeah. Just my mom.
He's the only crazy one, huh?
Yeah. And yeah, no, none of the others. We're all very much more like, cool, excellent. Looks like you're in a nice place. What's the nearest airport? I'll book a flight. Sorry, it took you how long to get there? Cool. Yeah, no, it's all right. The one thing it does give them is the ability just to see some amazing places. She does say that the sailing isn't, the exciting part or the fun part at all. It's just.
I would imagine it's the quality of the seafood she gets to eat.
What lands on the deck? Yeah, flying fish, quite a common one.
Good. That's the one big advantage. You get to eat a lot of good fresh seafood. That'd be the best offer. The best.
You've got to be careful. Man. Well, the weird thing, you've got to be really careful about the seafood you eat, because in the tropics there are certain fish you got to be very careful about. If you eat the wrong one, you are in a lot of trouble. That Hamilton episode where he's eating the psychedelic fish, psychotropic fish, and that, it's thinking that's risky, mate. That's like, wow, okay, cool.
Have to catch up on that episode.
Yeah, and I think he's just done a new one as well. Sorry,
I believe it was in the Indian Ocean, was it not, where this fish lives?
Yeah. And I watched an episode with a couple that was sailing, and with their little kid, they were sailing around the world, whatnot, and diving, spear this fish, looks kind of similar to something else. They think it's safe, they eat it, and a few hours later, they're all struggling to breathe, they're all swelling up. Turns out, no, you ate the other one, not the one you thought you were eating. Yeah. So those were interesting. And that was the be careful. It seems in these northern clams is the shit that wants to kill you, and the sea's got big teeth, and that neck of the woods, it's the little things that are going to kill you.
And what is it? The blue-ringed octopus in Australia, the most venomous creature on the planet. It's just this little tiny octopus. If it bites you, you're just totally screwed. There's no getting you out of the water.
Yeah, the little the box jellyfish, the blue ring, tiny little thing.
Yeah, it's a blue-ringed octopus. Thing's scary as all hell. Another reason, like Australia, props to you guys, but your country is just lethal.
And then you've got New Zealand right next door to it that's got nothing on it that'll kill you unless you fall off a cliff. It's kind of
what a weird divergence.
Complete opposite. Yeah, exactly. Absolute opposite. So chilled, birds didn't bother learning to fly. Well, yeah. On that note, yeah. New year and all of that. Let's hope it does go slightly better than the other two. Said in chat earlier, the only other thing that could go really well is if we actually got to witness, the apocalypse. But I don't think we'll be that lucky.
Speak for yourself.
We will get like an alien birth this year.
Oh dear! I realized that the Matrix was right.
Fingers crossed for Jurassic Park.
When anybody watch the Death to 2021 when he goes, oh yeah, no, the metaverse got switched on 6 years ago, nobody realized. You're all living in it. Yeah. Well, okay, cool on that one. Let's call it the end of the show. If anybody would like to join in for a little bit of an after show hangout for a bit, I'll post the link in the chat there. So yeah. On that note, Magma, where can everybody find you, sir?
Can be found on IG or here in Tenerife.
Next to the island, getting bigger.
Yeah, you'll find me.
Scoping out new land. And Raptor, buddy, where can everybody find you, sir?
Raptor Grow, thanks everyone for having me. Good to see you on this new year. Kind of weird getting used to saying 2022, but yeah, looking forward to the new 2022. You can find me on Instagram, Raptor Grow, and here Operation Grow, the Neighborhood Grow Show on Mondays, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And yes, I'm just wandering around in chats. Haven't been around as much. I've just been more into school and work. So I have the month off, gonna be working with GMF on some projects. So yeah, looking forward to sharing that all with you, and I'll see you all on any of those chats.
Thanks. GMF, sir, where we find you?
Usually in the kitchen or the garden, and now hopefully in the garage building a giant worm bin. So hopefully I do not get eaten by the worms, but we'll see who wins that battle. I don't know. I mean, holler at me on IG if I can be helpful. You always find me here or in the neighborhood on Mondays. If I can be helpful to anybody, give me a holler. And yeah, Raptor and we're going to hopefully get a few things out for beginners. That way people can go back to it and reference it and make it easy on people. But as always, Pete, thank you for providing a platform for everyone's brains to get just a little bit bumpier. So thanks, buddy.
Yeah, cool. Absolute pleasure. It's a little off this week, having had my birthday just the other day, followed by New Year's. Still like,
happy birthday, old man.
Trying to recover a bit here. Don't bounce back like we used to.
Are you 90 now, or how old?
Yeah, that old. Yeah. And your good self, Lefty, where can we all find you, sir?
I'll be hanging out around here with you guys usually on Saturdays, and you can find me on Instagram at Lefty's Farm, and I'm on Cannon Buzz, but it's been a while.
It's been a while. All right, then, everybody, you can catch me on Operation Grow 2019 on Instagram, as well as PL Grow Systems on Instagram. Thank you, everybody, for joining in our chat, and we shall catch up with you all